the girl they tried to bury. If you had told Adaeze that jealousy could make girls dig a grave for her while smiling to her face, she would have laughed and called you a liar. But now, trapped at the bottom of a pit in the sacred Iroko Grove, she understood that evil doesn't always wear a scary face. Sometimes it wears your friend's face. Her name was Adaeze, though everyone in Okirika called her the Beautiful One. She never asked for that name. She never even wanted people to notice her. But from the time she turned 15 and started going to Nun River to fetch water, people couldn't help but stare. It made her uncomfortable. All she wanted was to be invisible. She was her parents' only child. Her father, Namdi, was a fisherman who barely spoke 10 words a day. Her mother, Obioma, was everything her father was not. She laughed loud, she talked to everyone, and she loved her daughter with a fire that could warm the coldest heart. They weren't rich people, just simple folk living in a small wooden house near the river. But they were happy. At least they were happy until other people's jealousy started poisoning their peace. The beginning of trouble. The problems started small. When Adaeze walked through the Emma, the village square, some girls would whisper and giggle. She'd hear things like, "See how she's walking like she's better than us." Or "Her face is fine, so what? Beauty doesn't cook soup." At first, she ignored it, but then it got worse. One afternoon at the river, she was filling her clay pot when she heard a voice behind her. "Abeg, shift. Your fine face is blocking the sun." She turned around and saw 3 girls standing there. Kamara, the daughter of the palm wine tapper, Zainab, whose father owned a small provision store, and Chidinma, who everyone knew had a sharp tongue. Adaeze smiled at them, trying to be friendly. "Sorry, I didn't know I was in your way." "Everything is in your way," Kamara said, and the other girls laughed. Adaeze's smile died. She picked up her pots and walked home, her heart heavy. When she got inside, she went straight to her sleeping mat and cried quietly. Her mother found her there. Obioma sat down beside her daughter and pulled her close. "What happened?" "Mama, why do they hate me? I didn't do anything to them." Obioma sighed. "My daughter, listen to me. When a flower blooms in the desert, even the sand gets jealous. Don't let their bitterness make you think something is wrong with you. You hear me?" Adaeze nodded, but the words didn't stop the pain. The secret her mother kept. What Adaeze didn't know was that her mother was dying. For 3 months, Obioma had been coughing blood into a cloth and hiding it from everyone. She'd gone to see the herbalist in the next village, and he'd told her the truth. "Your time is short. Maybe 6 months, maybe less." Obioma had cried that day, not for herself, but for her daughter, who would protect Adaeze when she was gone, who would fight for her. That's why when news came that Prince Azabwike was looking for a wife, Obioma saw it as a sign from the gods. If Adaeze could marry into the royal family, she would be protected forever. But Obioma never told anyone she was sick, not even her husband. The announcement. One hot afternoon, the town crier walked through Okirika beating his wooden gong. The Obi calls all unmarried girls to the palace. Prince Azabwike will choose a wife. The ceremony is in 7 days. The whole village went mad with excitement. Women rushed to Obbeli market to buy fabric. Girls practiced their dancing in the compounds. Everyone wanted to be chosen. Everyone except Adaeze. "Mama, I'm not going," she said that evening. "You know what will happen. They'll laugh at me. They'll make me feel small." Obioma grabbed her daughter's shoulders, and for the first time, Adaeze saw something desperate in her mother's eyes. "You will go to that ceremony. You hear me? You will go even if I have to drag you there myself." "But Mama." "No buts." Obioma's voice cracked. She took a deep breath and softened. "Adaeze, listen to me. Sometimes in life, you have to be brave even when you're scared. You have to show up even when people don't want you there. Promise me you'll go." Adaeze saw tears in her mother's eyes and didn't understand why this mattered so much. But she nodded. "I promise, Mama." That night, Obioma pulled out her best wrapper from the wooden box under her bed. It was blue with gold patterns, the one she'd worn on her own wedding day. "You'll wear this," she said, folding it carefully. False friendship. 3 days before the ceremony, something strange happened. Kamara, Zainab, and Chidima showed up at Adaeze's house carrying a bowl of roasted groundnuts. "Adaeze," Kamara called out, smiling bright like the morning sun. "We came to see you." Adaeze stood at the door, confused. These were the same girls who mocked her every chance they got. "We wanted to apologize," Zainab said quietly. "We've been very wicked to you. We were jealous, and it was wrong. Can you forgive us?" Chidima nodded. "We want to be your friends. Real friends." Obioma was inside cooking, and she heard everything. She came to the door and looked at the three girls with narrow eyes. After they left, she pulled her daughter aside. "Adaeze, don't trust them." "But Mama," they apologized. "Maybe they really changed." "Snakes don't change, my daughter. They just learn to hide their fangs better." But Adaeze was tired of being lonely. She was tired of having no friends. She wanted to believe that people could be good. So when the girls came back the next day and the day after that, she let them in. They braided her hair. They laughed with her. They even helped her practice her dance steps. Zainab, the quiet one, felt sick to her stomach the whole time. She didn't want to be part of the plan, but she was too afraid of Kamara to say no. Kamara was the one who'd suggested everything. If Adaeze goes to that ceremony, Kamara had told them one night, the prince will choose her. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. And we'll be left looking like fools. So what do we do? Chidima had asked. Kamara's eyes went dark. We make sure she never gets there. The plan. While pretending to be Adaeze's friends, the three girls went to the sacred Iroko grove with shovels and cutlasses. They dug for 2 days, creating a pit so deep that even a grown man couldn't climb out. "This is too much," Zainab whispered as they worked. "What if she really gets hate?" "Good," Kamara said. "She needs to learn that beauty isn't everything." Zainab wanted to stop them. She wanted to tell someone. But fear kept her mouth shut, and she hated herself for it. The day of the ceremony. The morning finally came. Obioma woke up before dawn, coughing blood into her cloth. Her body was getting weaker every day, but she couldn't let her daughter see. She had to be strong for just a little longer. She woke Adaeze up gently. "Come, let me help you dress." As she wrapped the blue and gold fabric around her daughter, Obioma's hands trembled. "You look like a queen," she whispered. Adaeze smiled. "Thank you, Mama." Obioma held her daughter's face in her hands. "Listen to me carefully. Go straight to the palace. Don't follow anyone anywhere. You hear me? Don't follow anyone. Mama, you're scaring me. Just promise me." "I promise." Obioma pulled her daughter into a tight hug, and Adaeze felt something wet on her shoulder. Her mother was crying. "Mama, what's wrong?" "Nothing, my daughter. I just love you so much." After Adaeze left, Obioma wiped her tears and headed to the palace herself. She needed to help with the cooking preparations, but more than that, she wanted to keep her eyes on her daughter. The trap. Adaeze was walking toward the palace when she heard voices behind her. "Adaeze, wait for us." She turned and saw Kamara, Zainab, and Chidima running toward her, all dressed in bright, beautiful wrappers. "We thought we'd walk together," Kamara said, smiling. "You know, since we're friends now. Let's take the path through the sacred grove," Chidima suggested. "It's faster, and we don't want to be late." Adaeze hesitated. "But my mother said I should go straight to the palace." Kamara laughed. "Your mother worries too much. Come on, we'll get there even faster this way." Zainab looked down at her feet, unable to meet Adaeze's eyes. They walked together, talking and laughing. Adaeze felt genuinely happy for the first time in months. Maybe her mother was wrong. Maybe these girls really had changed. But as they went deeper into the grove, the laughter stopped. The air felt heavy. Even the birds weren't singing anymore. "Are you sure this is the right way?" Adaeze asked. "Of course," Kamara said. "Just a little further." Then Kamara stopped. "Wait, I think the path is this way. Adaeze, come check." Adaeze stepped forward, and the ground disappeared beneath her feet. She screamed as she fell, her voice tearing through the quiet grove. Her body hit the bottom hard. Pain exploded in her leg. She looked up, dazed and covered in dirt, and saw the three girls staring down at her from the edge of the pit. "Help me," she cried. "Please, help me." But instead of helping, Kamara smiled. It was the cruelest smile Adaeze had ever seen. Look at you now, Kamara said. The beautiful one. The special one. Not so special anymore, are you? Why? Adaeze's voice broke. What did I do to you? You existed, Kamara spat. That's what you did. You walked around with your pretty face, making the rest of us invisible. Chidima laughed. Let's see if the prince wants you now. Please, Adaeze begged. Please don't leave me here. Zainab stood frozen, tears running down her face, but she said nothing. Kamara looked at her. Let's go. We have a ceremony to attend. And they walked away, alone in the darkness. Adaeze screamed until her voice cracked. She clawed at the walls of the pit, but they were too steep. Her nails broke. Her fingers bled. She tried to climb 7 times, and 7 times she fell back down. The sun moved across the sky. Hours passed. She heard footsteps once and screamed for help, but it was just a bush rat running by. Her hope shattered. Then she heard voices and screamed again, but it was just the wind moving through the trees. She broke down and cried. As the sun started to set, Adaeze looked up at the darkening sky and thought about her mother. Obioma would be at the palace waiting for her. She'd be worried. She'd think Adaeze had abandoned her. Mama, she whispered. I'm sorry. I should have listened to you. Then the rain started. At first, it was just a drizzle, but soon it was pouring. Water began collecting at the bottom of the pit. Adaeze's heart raced with new terror. What if the pit filled up? What if she drowned? She stood up on her one good leg, trying to stay above the rising water. That's when she heard her mother's voice. Be strong, Adaeze. Be strong. She looked around, but no one was there. She was hallucinating, but the voice gave her strength. She kept standing even as her legs screamed in pain. The night came, and with it, complete darkness. Adaeze had never known darkness like this. She couldn't see her own hands. Strange sounds came from the forest. Animals. Insects. Things she couldn't name. She thought she was going to die there. Mama, she cried into the darkness. I don't want to die. Please, I don't want to die. She thought about all the things she'd never done. She'd never told her mother how much she loved her. She'd never stood up for herself. She'd spent her whole life trying to be small, trying not to bother anyone. And for what? If she ever got out of this pit, she promised herself she would live differently. But as the night stretched on, she stopped believing she'd get out. The ceremony. At the palace, Obioma stood near the cooking pots, her eyes constantly searching for her daughter. The ceremony had started. Girls were dancing in the courtyard. The drums were beating. But Adaeze wasn't there. She's coming, Obioma told herself. She's just late. But an hour passed, and then another. Obioma left her post and started asking the girls. Have you seen Adaeze? Did she come? Most of them shook their heads. But when she asked Kamara, Zainab, and Chidinma, they didn't even look at her. We haven't seen her, Kamara said, smiling as she danced. Something in Obioma's chest tightened. She found Namdi in the crowd. Our daughter is missing, she said. Namdi, the man who never showed emotion, felt his blood go cold. What do you mean missing? She's not here. Something is wrong. I can feel it. They ran home, hoping Adaeze had changed her mind and stayed back. But the house was empty. Obioma's wrapper was gone. Adaeze's dance steps were marked in the sand outside. She had left for the ceremony. So where was she? Obioma's legs gave out. Namdi caught her, and for the first time in their marriage, he saw his wife truly afraid. We have to find her, Obioma said, her voice shaking. They ran back to the palace and went straight to the Obi's throne room. The king and his wife, the queen, were watching the ceremony with Prince Azabwike. Obioma didn't care about protocol. She fell to her knees. My king, my daughter is missing. She left for the ceremony this morning, but she never arrived. The king stood up immediately. Are you sure? Yes, my king. Something terrible has happened to her. Prince Azabwike had been watching the girls dance with empty eyes. None of them felt right. None of them made his heart stay. But when he heard about the missing girl, something in him shifted. Father, we must search for her, he said. The king nodded. Guards, search the village and the surrounding areas. Now. The music stopped. The dancing stopped. Everyone watched as the royal guard spread out across Okirika. Kamara's smile faded. Chidama's hands started shaking. Zainab felt like she was going to vomit. The guards searched until midnight but found nothing. Obioma refused to leave the palace. She sat on the ground outside the throne room, rocking back and forth. "My daughter," she whispered. "Where is my daughter?" Namdi sat beside her, his face like stone, but inside he was breaking. He'd always believed that silence was strength, that real men didn't cry. But tonight, tears ran down his face. The king came out and knelt beside them. "We'll resume the search at first light. I give you my word." But Obioma knew. A mother's heart always knows. She could feel that her daughter was in terrible danger, maybe even dying, and it was eating her alive. What she didn't know was that her own body was giving up too. The stress, the running, the fear had pushed her sick body past its limit. At dawn, a hunter named Jubam entered the sacred Iroko Grove. On the pit. Looking down, he saw a girl covered in mud and blood, barely conscious. "Jesus," he shouted. "Hold on, I'm coming." He ran back to his house and got rope. It took him 20 minutes to pull Adaeze out. When she finally lay on solid ground, she couldn't stop crying. "Water," she whispered. "Please, water." Jubam gave her his water gourd, and she drank like she'd been in the desert for days. "What's your name?" he asked. "Adaeze." Jubam's eyes went wide. "You're the missing girl. Your parents have been looking for you all night." He started to carry her toward the village, but then he changed his mind. The palace was closer, and this girl needed help immediately. He turned and headed for the Obi's compound instead. The truth comes out. When Jubam arrived at the palace carrying Adaeze, Obioma screamed, "My daughter! My daughter!" She ran to them and collapsed right there in the courtyard. Adaeze reached for her mother with trembling hands. "Mama, I'm sorry. You told me not to follow them. I'm so sorry." "Sure, it's not your fault. It's not your fault." Namdi fell to his knees beside them. And then, the man who never spoke, the man who never showed emotion, let out a sound that made everyone in the palace stop and stay. He was sobbing. Deep, body-shaking sobs. "My daughter," he cried. "My little girl." He'd spent years believing that silence was strength, but now he understood. Love wasn't quiet. Love was loud. Love screamed and cried and broke down when the people you loved were hurting. The king called for the palace healer, and they took Adaeze inside. Jubam told everyone exactly where he'd found her and what he'd seen. "Someone dug that pit on purpose," he said. "It was deep and hidden. Somebody wanted to hurt her." The king's face went dark with anger. He summoned the town crier immediately. "Gather everyone at the palace. I don't care if they're sleeping. Everyone must come. Now." Within an hour, the entire village stood in the palace courtyard. The king sat on his throne with the queen beside him. Prince Azabwike stood nearby. Adaeze sat on a mat with her parents, her leg wrapped in bandages. "Someone tried to kill this girl," the king announced, his voice echoing across the silent crowd. "And I want to know who." Obioma stood up, her voice steady despite her pain. "My king, 3 girls came to my house to take my daughter to the ceremony. Kamara, Zainab, and Chidinma." The crowd parted as the 3 girls were pushed forward. They tried to look innocent, but fear was written all over their faces. "Did you take Adaeze to the ceremony?" the king asked. "No, my king," Kamara lied. "We went on our own. We don't know what happened to her." "Liar." The voice came from an unexpected person. "Zainab." Everyone turned to look at her. Tears were pouring down her face. "I can't do this anymore," she sobbed. "I can't lie anymore. We did it. It was us." "Shut up," Kamara hissed. But Zainab couldn't stop. Everything came pouring out. "We dug the pit. We lured her there. We pushed her in and left her to die. It was Kamara's idea, but I'm just as guilty because I didn't stop it. I didn't say anything. I'm a coward." She fell to her knees. "I'm so sorry, Adaeze. I'm so sorry. I wanted to help you. I wanted to tell someone. But I was scared, and I let fear turn me into a monster." Chidima started crying too. "We were jealous. Our mothers always compared us to her. They'd say, Why can't you be more like Adaeze? Why can't you carry yourself like her? We hated hearing it, so we hated her. Kamara said nothing. She just stayed at the ground, her jaw tight. The crowd exploded with angry shouts. People called for the girls to be punished. Some said they should be banished. Others said wise. The king raised his hand for silence. These girls will be locked up for 6 months. And when they are released, no one in this village will speak to them. No one will sell to them or buy from them. Anyone who associates with them will face the same punishment. Wait! It was Prince Adaeze. He walked forward and stood in front of Adaeze. She looked up at him, confused. Yesterday, I watched beautiful girls dance, he said. But I felt nothing. I was looking for someone whose beauty matched her character. And I found her. He reached down and helped Adaeze to her feet. She wobbled on her injured leg, and he held her steady. You were thrown into a pit and left to die, he said. But you survived. And even after all that, when one of the girls who hurt you showed courage by telling the truth, you didn't curse her. I saw it in your eyes. You forgive her. Adaeze looked at Zainab, who was still on her knees, sobbing. She made a mistake, Adaeze said quietly. We all make mistakes. The prince smiled. That's why I choose you. Adaeze, will you be my wife? The crowd went silent. Adaeze looked at her mother, and Obioma was smiling through her tears. She nodded. Yes, Adaeze whispered. Yes, I will. The crowd erupted in cheers. Drums started beating again. People were singing and dancing. Obioma stood up and walked to her daughter. She pulled her into a tight embrace. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. So very proud. And then Obioma's legs gave out. The bitter end. Mama! Adaeze screamed as her mother collapsed in her arms. Namdi caught Obioma before she hit the ground. Get the healer, he shouted. But when the healer came and examined Obioma, his face told the story. He looked at Namdi and shook his head slowly. What do you mean? Namdi demanded. Fix her. Do something. This isn't something I can fix, the healer said sadly. This sickness has been eating her from the inside for months. She's been hiding it. Adaeze fell to her knees beside her mother. Mama, why didn't you tell me? Obioma opened her eyes and smiled weakly. Because I needed to be strong for you. I needed to make sure you'd be okay before I. She coughed. No, Mama, don't talk like that. You're going to be fine. Obioma lifted her hand and touched her daughter's face. I got to see you safe. I got to see you chosen by a good man. That's all I wanted. That's all I needed. Mama, please don't leave me. I'm not leaving you, my daughter. I'll always be with you. Every time you're scared, I'll be there. Every time you need strength, I'll be there. Her voice was getting softer. Be brave, Adaeze. Be strong. And never, ever let anyone make you feel small. Mama, I love you. So much. And then she closed her eyes. Mama, Mama. But Obioma didn't open her eyes again. Namdi pulled his wife into his arms and wept like the world was ending. Adaeze collapsed against her father, and they cried together while the celebration continued around them, slowly dying down as people realized what had happened. The king and queen bowed their heads in respect. Prince Adaeze stood nearby, tears running down his own face. The gods had given Adaeze everything, but they'd taken away the person she loved most. 1 month later, the wedding was both the happiest and saddest day of Adaeze's life. She wore her mother's blue and gold wrapper. She danced the way her mother had taught her. And when the ceremony ended and she became a princess, she went to the river and poured water on the ground for her mother's spirit. I miss you, Mama. So very proud. Kamara and Chidinma were released from prison after their 6 months. True to the king's word, no one in Okirika spoke to them. They became like ghosts, invisible in their own village. Eventually, they both left Okirika and were never seen again. But Zainab stayed. She accepted her punishment with her head bowed. And slowly, very slowly, because she showed genuine remorse and worked to make amends, some people began to forgive her. One day, she came to the palace and asked to see Adaeze. I don't expect you to forgive me, Zainab said. I just wanted you to know that I think about what I did every single day. And I'm sorry. I'll be sorry for the rest of my life. Adaeze looked at her for a long moment. Then she said, "My mother taught me that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I forgive you, Zainab. But more importantly, you need to forgive yourself." Zainab broke down crying, and for the first time in months, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she could be human again. Jubam, the hunter who saved Adaeze, was given land and a position in the king's court. He became one of the most respected men in Okirika. Namdi, the quiet fisherman, learned to speak. He talked about his wife to anyone who would listen. He told stories about her laughter and her strength. He refused to let her memory fade. And Adaeze, she became the kind of leader her mother would have been proud of. She used her position to help girls who were bullied and outcast. She created a place where beauty wasn't the only thing that mattered. But every night before she went to sleep, she held her mother's wrapper close and whispered, "Thank you, Mama, for everything." Because sometimes the people who love us most are the ones who sacrifice everything to see us safe, even if it means they won't be there to enjoy the happiness they fought so hard to give us. And that kind of love never dies. If you like this story, please click and subscribe for more. Thank you for